Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. And yes, this is absolutely another lesson in insanity. And I first want to apologize for what I am displaying on the screen that you're looking at. But I felt that it is something that absolutely needs to be seen and understood to better understand what is happening here in the United States. So the photograph and eventually the video that you will be watching is taking place in Los Angeles, and it is the Pride Day Festival. Now, please understand, as we go back to the roots of what they call Pride Day, I call it Debauchery Month, because we were bombarded with this sort of debauchery, and it is debauchery. And the origins of this movement are centered on homosexuals. Men who love other men, who simply want to live normal lives and be acknowledged that men can love other men and get married and essentially live the same type of domestic relationship that married men and women have. But that's the illusion of this debauchery month. That is not what this is about. This is not about homosexuals experiencing the same sort of rights and lives that heterosexuals, male, female, married couples living together. This is what it's about. This is the root of what it's about, and it's expanded to now target children. There are children at this event watching sadomasochism, watching simulated torture. This guy breaks out a cat of nine tails and proceeds to simulate it, beat the man strapped to the back of the car. And yes, that's two men. In public, with children watching. And this just does not take place in parades. Here in the United States, at the elementary school level, grade school level, they call drag queen days, where they do lunch with drag queens. They put on little micro events just like this, in which transvestites come out and do this sort of thing in front of kids, and it's celebrated. And I'm not making this up. And then I look at our president, the alleged president of the United States, Joseph Biden. Have you ever watched the way he interacts with children and females? The sniffing, the touching, the caressing. And some people say he's just being affectionate. That's just the way he is. I don't believe that's the case. I think it's much more simpler than that. I think it is a primal simplicity of his enjoyment. That's what he likes to do. And look, the apple does not fall far from the tree. Look at crackhead Biden, his son. He, after the death of his brother, proceeds to have a sexual relationship, an abusive sexual relationship, with his brother's wife. Now, there are certain ethical guidelines I think most people have. And for me, if my sibling were to have perished, if I had a brother, then would I pursue a sexual relationship with his widow? Absolutely not. There's just some things basic, good, decent human beings don't do, and that's one of them. So again, the apple does not fall far from the tree in relation to Joe and his son. And I'm specifically talking about the caressing and the sniffing of young people. It's bizarre, strange, incredibly strange. But they do it because he enjoys it. And this runs tandem into what you're seeing right here with this. Let's play this real quick, where you, the viewer, can see exactly what we're talking about. This is in front of children. He's going to strangle him. He's going to simulate strangulation in front of children. Look at the guy to the bottom right. Look at him, just ridiculous, horrible, 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 horrible. And that's displayed in front of children in an event in which thousands of people are attending, thousands of young people, thousands of children. And I'm just gonna get off of that and go over to this Ukraine battle map as I continue to talk about this, because I just can't have that on the screen any longer. It's ridiculous. So then I ask myself, how does the United States fix this? What happens? Well, ultimately, the only way for the culture in the United States to change is going to be through accountability. There is going to have to be some sort of punishment for what has taken place. And in all probability, an accountability so severe that it will change people's perception. Because ultimately, that's how human beings learn. If you have a debauched society and you want to fix that, the only way to fix it is with extreme accountability. Now, what does that look like? I'm not going to delve into that on this episode. But I would ask you to look at certain points in history, things that have happened in history. There are also books that have been written that I don't think are too far from what could happen. Now, there is a book that was written. It was called The Handmaid's Tale. And that is essentially the left, the left worst nightmare, in which a theocratic regime takes over in the United States, and there are punitive actions for what has happened in society. Now, I got to tell you, 10 years ago, when this book first came out and you read it, you would think to yourself, well, that's nonsense. Gilead would never happen here in the United States. That's just asinine. Now, at the same time, I would have never thought that I would see simulated sadomasochism. I would see strangulation, cat o' nine tails being used for purpose of sexual stimulation in a parade in which children attend. I would have never thought that I would see drag queen shows in grade schools here in the United States today. I would have never thought that the flag of debauchery would be placed over the White House. I never thought that we would have a president who sniffs young people and touches women inappropriately. And it's okay for him to continue to do that because he's just being affectionate. Is it really? I don't know. So again, if you read The Handmaid's Tale and you read what happens in society, is it too far from the extremism that we are seeing now? I would say Gilead and its anti-debauchery movement that existed would have been a reaction, quite possibly, to something that we are seeing right now happening in society. The same extremism in terms of sexual debauchery, disguised as some element of human rights. It's not a human right. So I don't know. You tell me. For those who have read The Handmaid's Tale, is that obviously one extreme on where things could go? But are we at right now? Are we at that other spectrum of the extreme, which could cause a knee-jerk reaction the other way? What society would you want to live in? If you had to live in a society and you had two choices, a completely debauched, hypersexual society or a controlled society, the likes of Gilead. And there are some societies here on the planet Earth that exist in a state fairly close to Gilead. Where would you rather live? I think that would be an interesting discussion. That's our lesson for insanity for today. Have a good day.